Hey, everybody. Did you like how I just did my own theme song just there? I hope you did. Jay here with a quick interruption. I don't have ads, so I'm going to advertise myself in the middle of this podcast. Why not? This is somewhere north of 300 episodes when you're listening to this. And golly gee, it has been a journey, and I appreciate you coming with me on that journey for this whole time that you've been here. Maybe you've been here from the beginning. Maybe you've been here since like an episode ago. I'm just glad you're here. But I do have to say this. We here at Blockbusting, and there's literally a we. Chorkin, come around to the other side of the camera so we can see. Look, guys, I got a staff now, all right? I got interns, okay? I got producers. I got stuff to handle here at the space that I record at and elsewhere. And I want to be able to pay these people. And I, unfortunately, do not make the kind of money to pay these people myself. And that's where I hope that you can come in by supporting the Blockbusting Patreon. Yes, that's right. We've got a Patreon. I haven't plugged it in a bit, but I'm going to start plugging it heavy now because why not? I want to pay these folks, all right? And you can support the podcast for just as low as $1 a month, all right? $1 a month goes back into the show. I'm not even paying myself. I don't care about paying myself for this podcast. I care about giving a little something back to the people who help me out because I'm getting a lot of help from people these days, and they deserve a little something for their efforts beyond just my eternal thanks and gratitude, which they're going to get anyway. So you can subscribe for $1 a month. You start getting access to bonus content from me. Like I'm posting episodes of my game show Wrong that I'm doing here in Los Angeles that I'm not posting to the public. I'll start posting bonus episodes of me talking about stuff again. What's Good with Jay Light, where I just talk about what I liked that I saw on the television and the internet and stuff these days, because that's how you do for Patreon. We still have the JFlix level, the $5 tier, where you can get access to my full film, television, comedy special library. That's just $5 a month. It's cheaper than pretty much every streaming service out there, except for, I guess, Apple TV is $5 a month. And they have Severance and Ted Lasso, so you really can't go wrong there. And they got Coda. I mean, Coda, what a delight. But you know what I've got? Xanadu. And nobody else has that. Pfft. Duh. I've got A Day Without a Mexican, Los Digits' least favorite movie. You listen to that episode, it's a great episode. But you just got to watch the movie, which I have on JFlix for $5 a month. I got a bunch of weird stuff. So go consider, please, subscribing to the Patreon for Blockbusting. The link is in the show notes. Or you can just go type into your little web browser right now, tippity-tap it into patreon.com/blockbusting. Again, that is patreon.com/blockbusting. And your support will go to helping me throw a little cash the way of the fine folks who help make this podcast happen. That's all I'm asking is you throw me a little something so I can throw them a little something, okay? We're going direct. Because, you know, this is like thoughts and prayers with guns. Like, saying thanks is only going to do so much. I want to give them cash, okay? At least buy them a coffee or something. Patreon.com/blockbusting. You can join and support for as little as $1 a month. And that's all there is, folks. Enjoy the rest of the episode.
Oh, let me tell you something. Busting makes me feel good.
I can hear. I'm like, oh, I got my NPR voice on for this episode.
Yeah. Really, I think that's the way to go. Just
for this episode, we're going full fresh air with Terry Gross.
Yes, very gentle.
A show I've never listened to. Hi, welcome to Fresh Blockbusting. I'm your host, Jerry Gross, aka Jay Light. Joining me today as we have 2 cups of coffee. It's sorry.
So far, so good.
Wonderful comic. Great person on the internet to check out. If you haven't seen her work already, you should follow her for her stuff. Leah Rudick.
Thank you.
Hi, Leah.
Hi, Jay.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. It's so good to see you. It's been like a year.
Yeah, I think the last time was at the that really cool venue that.
Yeah, Trip and Turf.
Trip and Turf,
The outdoor space.
Yeah, the wedding venue.
The wedding venue comedy show.
So fun.
So much fun. Yeah, we unfortunately, when weddings came back,
they gave you the boot?
We got the boot.
Dang.
Reasonable.
I don't know.
I mean, you're making a lot more money off of a wedding.
I was going to say, surely you're putting down a $10,000 deposit for those comedy shows.
If not for the use of the upstairs photo wall alone.
Yes, yeah.
The flower wall. What a time period that was.
What a weird time. I feel like that was, I was so grateful because it was like, you were one of the first people to book me, like, coming out of the pandemic. And I was like, it was such a nice, you were so like nice and like generous about it when I like randomly DM'd you, which it doesn't usually happen.
Well, that's nice to hear. I'm glad to hear that. And I'm so glad I booked you because you're very funny.
Thank you.
And I'm frankly, I'm surprised we haven't run into each other again in stand-up, but I guess that's just the downside to like LA being huge.
Yeah.
And us both working is that, hey, we're just out and about doing stuff.
We're out there.
How have you been in the past
year? I've been really good. I feel like I've been traveling a lot, doing a lot of like road shows.
Cool.
Road shows. Like doing stand-up on the road.
Not Antiques Roadshow. Nothing like that.
No, I've been doing a lot of stuff like in the Midwest and the South, which has been really nice because I feel like you can, there's like real audiences there. Not that there are in LA too, but
they're harder to come by.
Yeah.
Because people in LA are not real.
Right, exactly.
So a real audience, you can go to like Orange County.
Yeah.
You get real folks down there.
You get real folks there, for sure.
Where has been your favorite place that you've performed in the past year-ish?
Well, I was just in Indianapolis. I featured for Maria Bamford, which was like the highlight of my...
Helium?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
And those shows were so fun.
Oh, that's great.
Because it was like her audience and it was just like...
Yeah. She's got a great audience.
She does.
That's very cool that y'all were working together.
Yeah, it was the best.
I'm supposed to go to Indianapolis, but I'm doing Alex Price's show.
Oh, yeah. That's in the upstairs room at Helium, right?
No, he's got another one, not that show. There's another one at Black Circle Brewing.
Oh, cool.
It's like a Sunday show.
Cool.
And I'm supposed to go out there in Labor Day weekend, so like a month.
Amazing.
Month and a half.
There's so much amazing comedy happening in the Midwest right now. It's wild. Yeah. My brother is a comic who lives in Cincinnati, so it's nice to have like that sort of in there, and like there's so much. It's all over the place. I had one of my best friends who I started comedy with was living in Cincinnati when he started. Oh, really?
So I went to go visit him a fair bit, and that was back when I think Jeff Tate still lives there, right? Yeah, well,
I think Jeff has been going back and forth between LA and Cincinnati, but yeah.
But I remember I would see him at places. Dave Waite was still up around that way.
Yeah.
And then also just like all of the random open micers who I started out with at that time and who are like John Holmes is doing stuff right now.
Yeah, John's the best.
It's so cool.
There's such a good scene there. So many great people.
Well, now that we talked about great people, what a transition.
Let's talk about a terrible movie that everybody loves except for me.
It is a movie that everybody loves. This is one of the more in recent episodery. This is one of the most acclaimed movies that has been talked about. LA Confidential.
Oh God.
99% on Rotten Tomatoes.
As I was coming in this afternoon, I was like, surely there's a bad review that I can find. And there isn't. There's one. There's like 160 Rotten Tomato positive reviews, and then there's one, and it's not even that bad. Who's
it from? Do you remember?
I don't even know. It's some publication I've never heard of. And all it says is well, it's a great movie, but it just really picks up in the third act.
It's just a little slow for most of it.
Yeah.
For most of its 2.5 hour long running time. I mean, it got a ton of Oscars,
Yeah.
or Oscar nominations rather. 1, 2 for outstanding adapted screenplay,
Yes.
and for Kim Basinger's performance as supporting actress.
Yes.
As Lynn Bracken.
Lynn Bracken.
And it got nominated for directing, picture,
everything.
I feel like a lot of people assumed that movie was going to win. Like, it seemed like at the time it was probably the front runner. It won all the critics awards for Best Picture, and then Titanic swooped in.
Titanic came in there.
It's tough to beat out Titanic
I
in
know.
1997.
I know.
It really gets you. But I had never seen this movie until you brought it up.
Did you just watch it this week?
I just watched it this week for the very first time.
Oh, I'm surprised.
I'd heard about it a lot when I was in film school. I remember it coming up when people are talking about noir. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's on the long pantheon of like movies that were nominated for Best Picture, great crime dramas, all that kind of stuff. It keeps coming up on all those contexts, best movies of the 90s, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yes.
But I just never watched it.
Yeah.
I never had the desire to watch it, I guess. Like, at some point for me, it seemed like there's all these movies that are like, these are the great movies. And I guess maybe unless I spend all of my time just sitting around watching these movies, I'm never going to get around to watching a lot of these movies.
Yeah.
Secretly why I started this podcast, so I can have an excuse to watch more movies.
Really good idea.
But this was the first time on Tuesday night this week, first time I'd ever watched it.
And what did you think?
I mean, I liked it.
Yeah. Most people do.
I think it's a good movie. And I think that there's obviously it's interesting now, having watched it, having lived in LA for 10 years and having seen the way that not just the discussion nationally around like policing has evolved, obviously, since this movie came out, but the way, and specifically in LA too, and how we know that there is this history in LA of like gangs in the sheriff's department, corruption in the police force, and seeing how far that even stretches back. What, I know it's fictional, it's based on a novel, but there's definitely, I mean, you wouldn't have a bunch of movies about LA corrupt policing over the years without some, not even just a kernel of truth. Like, there's a whole corn cob of truth to all of these stories.
Completely. Yeah. Yeah.
But what did you watched it for the first time pretty recently?
Yeah, I watched it sort of mid-pandemic, and I was watching a bunch of noir films at the time because my writing partner and I were working on writing a neo-noir script. And I hadn't really watched a lot, so this was one of the ones that I watched, and it was it was like right on the heels of the George Floyd protests. And I was just like, this feels like it just is like a love letter to police brutality and toxic masculinity. And I just viscerally, it made me so upset.
Interesting.
To the point where I watched the whole thing, but I kind of checked out, I think 2/3 of the way through, because I was just like, fuck this. I hate this so much. So I feel like I wasn't even checked into the elements of it that probably make it a great film. Which then I watched again recently when I knew we were going to do this podcast, and I was like, okay, I see that. I see why this is a beloved film. Still didn't like it the second time, but
still had
for the same reasons.
Same reasons.
Yeah,
same
it was
feelings.
just like, ugh, all these fucking white men just being violent to people of color and women, and just I don't want to see that. I don't want to see this. I don't want to give my time and energy to this story.
That's I'm curious, because when you watched it again, you were able to see more of the elements. You weren't as viscerally, you didn't have those visceral feelings quite blocking your ability to see this is where the quote unquote good filmmaking comes in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what did you see when you were watching it the second time that you that you missed the first time, I guess?
Well, it's such like an intricate plot, which I didn't really follow the first time because I was just like mad and I think probably just getting drunk.
It is definitely not a movie to watch when you're like getting drunk and angry at the state of the world.
Yeah, totally.
It's only going to reinforce those feelings.
Yeah.
In this movie where you're watching it, you're like, oh, all cops are bastards? Okay, great. Yeah. We did it. We kept the dream dead, everybody.
Cheers to this world.
But it's a very intricate plot, yes.
It's a very intricate plot, and it's, I think it is like, I can see that it is a beautifully shot film and, excellent filmmaking and very good performances.
Sure.
But I just don't, I mean, and I know like so much of film is this, where it's just like, I don't care for this story to be told. And obviously this was in 1997, and I feel like the world has changed a lot. So, but it's strange to me that reaction is less universal. Like I was very surprised that when I like went and was like, surely there's a bad review online somewhere, and there just wasn't.
Well, it's interesting that the thing that like sticks out to me as what I want to understand a little bit better is you say it felt like it was glorifying a lot of the behavior. And I do think that there is definitely some element of that, right? Like when I was watching it, so for those who haven't seen it, the premise basically involves three cops played by Russell Crowe, Kevin Spacey, and Guy Pearce.
Yes.
Russell Crowe is this muscle, he starts out the movie with this partner. He's like he basically like takes an extracurricular activity to beat the shit out of a guy who's beating his wife. And so we see him as like this guy who's like he's sort of a damaged dude. He uses violence in obviously like fucked up ways, and he's got like some noble aims, but also he's somebody who is very much entrenched in the system of like cops use violence in order to achieve what they want.
Yes.
And that's overtly stated by multiple characters in the film. Kevin Spacey is this guy who's like Hollywood adjacent. He's a little fast talking. He gets kind of involved in some unsavory things because he's in narcotics and vice. And then there's Guy Pearce, who is supposed to be the moral center of the film.
Yes.
He's this guy who like is a young upstart cop. He has done really well on all of the like tests that you have to take, and they're coming for us.
They're coming for us.
They're coming for us.
The LAPD is coming for us in their helicopters.
About LA Confidential. They have decided to use how much? I remember when all of that stuff with the protesters going down. They said it was like $20,000 for a helicopter.
It was insane. There were like military like tanks driving down my street in Silver Lake.
There were when I lived over off Fairfax, and they had tanks driving down. They were parked outside Fairfax.
It was wild.
They're coming for us.
They're coming for us. They probably are. We're
talking about the good one. Why are you coming now? We're talking about the good guy.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten into
to the corrupt people.
Rollo Tomassi.
So, but Guy Pearce also, he's the moral center, and he's this guy who's like, he's saying stuff that I agree with, which is like, I think that cops should not use violence to get what they want. I think that people deserve a fair shot in the justice system, all that stuff. But then he succumbs to...
Yeah. He's a piece of shit too in the end.
Is he a piece of shit though?
Well, yeah, I mean, he is, isn't I like he in the end he's not even honorable because he like he trades in the like telling the truth for like that badge of honor.
Yeah, you're right. Because so we should. I mean,
sorry, spoiler alert.
Let's just spoil the whole thing out the gate.
Great.
The premise of the movie is these three guys are all sort of investigating a series of different crimes that all sort of lead back to the same grander conspiracy theory, which at the heart of it is there are corrupt police officers who are taking over after Mickey Cohen has been sent away from Los Angeles. Corrupt police officers take over his business dealings. And at the heart of it is this guy played by James Cromwell, who's the police captain. There's also a porn producer who's involved, creepy shit. He's giving people plastic surgery so they look more like
it's a very fun plot line where all of these prostitutes get cosmetic procedures to look like Hollywood starlets.
Yeah. The scene at Formosa Cafe.
Yeah, with Lana Turner.
Yeah. And Kevin Spacey being like, no, that's really Lana Turner. That's really her. And getting drinks thrown and just laughing at Guy Pearce in the car. It's a fun scene.
It's a fun scene.
But but it's interesting too, because like I was saying, the glorification.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like there are some elements of this movie where it's directed from the point of view of the other cops, right? Where it's not the point of view of Guy Pearce, who's supposed to be this righteous, trying to be a reformer within the department.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't feel like the violence itself. I watched it and I was like, I was sickened by it.
Yeah.
You know, like they show a lot of these, I'm guessing, real photos or made to look real photos of crime scenes.
Yeah.
They're showing these crime scenes in the film itself that are pretty horrific.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I felt, you know, I had the feeling watching it, and I didn't feel, it felt like it wasn't, in those moments, it wasn't glorified.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I don't think that it is necessarily intentionally glorified. I think that just like watching it at this point in time, I was just like, I don't care about the framework of this story. Like, I don't care about I don't want to watch a story about 3 white cops right now. Like, I don't, even if it isn't like, actually like, I don't think that the intention of the film is to glorify, but I think that like just framing their stories does glorify it by default in a way.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. It's interesting too to think about it in those terms, and consider how some of the actions taken by the cops in the movie, who are ostensibly, again, our protagonists, they're supposed to be our good guys.
Yeah.
How they still fall prey to this system that they're entrenched in, and unable to break out of these things.
Yeah. And we're supposed to root for them. And it's like, I don't, like Russell Crowe's whole, Russell Crowe? That's who it is, right?
That's who it is.
Yeah.
It's hard because he's unrecognizable as Russell Crowe because he actually looks young and in shape.
This is so embarrassing, but I'm this is a side note. I'm like kind of face blind, so I have a really hard time recognizing celebrities a lot. And like halfway through the film, I turn to my husband and I'm like, this Edward Norton character is wild.
He does look like Edward Norton.
And he was like, what? Like, what? I was like, Edward Norton. He was like, that's not Edward Norton. That is Russell Crowe.
I could see the mix-up happening.
Thank you for saying that.
I could see it happening.
He was like, that they don't look anything alike. But then they kind of do.
At that time, they definitely did.
At that time, they did, yeah.
Now, not so much.
Yeah, right.
But back
now,
then,
not so much. But like, he had the like buzz cut, and I don't know.
I could see Russell Crowe playing Edward Norton in Fight Club and vice versa.
Exactly.
It could have happened.
Yeah, totally. But like he's his whole like character is built around this idea that he like hates violence toward women, and then like the whole like thing where he then just like punches smacks Kim Basinger's character. It's just like I don't root for you. I understand that this is like your whole character, but like I don't. And then she ends up with him. Like, why? He hit you.
That's a good point. this is, I mean, that's the thing too. It's like, it's tough to make a good movie with characters that you're like, especially now, I think there's such a trope of like, oh, we're going to do anti-heroes. And I'm sure I love a movie or TV show with an anti-hero. And it's also tough to see those people, those characters making the tough decision, but also not thinking about making the decision that they make that like sends them back into anti-hero mode, right? Like that moment when he smacks Kim Basinger's character, I was also horrified. I was like, and I was disappointed.
Yeah.
He spent this whole time, you're like, oh, he's worried about not being a good officer. He's worried about not being smart, and he's finally figuring out. You start to root for him, and then.
Yeah. And like, you know, whatever, that's his like fatal flaw or whatever. But like, why do they have them end up together? Like.
I mean, I don't want to see her wind up with Guy Pearce, though.
That would be a little bit better, though, wouldn't it?
I don't know. Why do you think that her and Guy Pearce should wind up together?
I liked Guy Pearce better, like comparatively. I just liked it. He's
a better character for sure.
He's a better character overall.
As a person,
yeah, like he's a little bit more moral.
But also he's also the politician, right? So politician till the end. Yeah. Is maybe he would want to be with her, but he's not going to make the decision to wind up dating a hooker who looks like
Veronica Lake.
Veronica Lake, that's right. Because that's just not going to work. That's gonna tank his political career.
Yeah,
he's not going to be able to be a city council person.
He's not going to be able to make his daddy his daddy proud anymore.
Daddy proud, yeah. What did Rollo Tomasi do? And if not to keep him from dating hookers who look like Veronica Lake.
Exactly. That's a great point.
It's, I think that there's an interesting way to look at in the genre of the film noir, and in particular ones that are like that come up in LA. You're gonna get faced with characters like this. Yeah. And obviously there are plenty of other movies where, like, especially in recent years, where you're sort of examining traits that are inherent to characters like this. We're talking things like toxic masculinity, behaviors in ways that used to be acceptable not being acceptable anymore. And I think that there's a degree of like, because I think this movie was made in the 90s and because it's about cops and it's in that framing, it doesn't have as much of a chance to explore stuff that's outside of really like the thin blue line of it all, I guess.
It's not meant to. That's not the intention of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there are ways in which it could have done a better exploration? Like, do you feel like that there was stuff that it left on the table?
Not necessarily, not for what it was. I mean, I think it was what it was. And I certainly am aware that like I feel like I'm like criticizing a movie for like personal, it's just like, that's just not a movie for me. Sure. Like it's, I don't think it's a problem within the movie or within the genre. I don't know, like if all the genders were swapped, I'd be into that.
You want to see the Ghostbusters answer the call, but of this?
I really do.
Who would be some good shitty female cops? Who could act these roles? I mean, I'm thinking there's God, if we're doing the true female swap version of this movie, who do we get?
What a fun question.
This is a fun question. This is tough. There's a lot of, I feel like Frances McDormand is going to be the James Cromwell character.
Totally.
Because she's got the gravitas, she's got the age, she could play that sort of hard-nosed but likable, but then turns out to be the true villain at the end of all of it.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that casting. I feel like my head just immediately goes to like my favorite comedy actors, but that wouldn't be right. I'm like, Catherine O'Hara.
Actually, I think Catherine O'Hara could maybe make it work.
Like
she could
Kevin
be the Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
Because Kevin Spacey does get the opportunity to do the most comedy stuff in the movie. And Danny DeVito.
Yeah,
I mean, your
Danny
scene
DeVito,
partner with him a lot.
Danny DeVito could be, I don't know.
Maybe we just
Melissa McCarthy or
Melissa McCarthy could be cool. I was just going to say maybe we just let Danny DeVito be Danny DeVito again in this.
Yeah, he gets to keep his role.
He's great. I love Danny DeVito in this. I love
the best.
movie.
It's my favorite part of the film. Is him.
Yeah. I love a movie where I didn't know Danny DeVito was in this movie at all, and he was just like showing up at the narration at the very beginning. I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, it is. He is like a breath of fresh air. He's delightful.
Oh yeah.
But who would play Kim Basinger's character?
My instinct goes to, I mean, the first person that came to mind was Harry Styles.
Oh yeah, I was thinking that, or like Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah, you got to get a young ingenue type.
Yeah.
Who is like, they have a strength, but they're also kind of, there's something dangerous.
Yeah.
And maybe a little bit like you think they're frail, but they're not.
Yeah, they're not.
That's it. We're building it out.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we get Guy Pearce, who's our moral center. This is tough. I want to cast Charlize Theron in one of these roles in my mind, but I don't know who.
She could do that. She could be that.
She could be that. But it feels also, I mean, this is the downside, is like it's not as fun of a role. And I feel like she would have more fun if she was the porn producer.
Yeah, she'd make a great porn producer.
Yeah, Pierce Morehouse.
David Strathairn's character. Yeah.
But who could be
Guy Pearce?
Who could wear glasses that we don't want to wear glasses? Which is such a huge character trait for Guy Pearce in this movie.
It really is.
So he takes his glasses off when he's taking pictures. Come on.
He can't see with them off. Contact lenses?
That's the most LA trait of anybody in this movie is taking off your glasses so you can look better for your photographs.
Were contacts not a thing in 1997? They were.
Had to have been.
Yeah.
Maybe not in 1947.
Oh, right, because it was right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's it was meant to be shot. It was meant to be like the early 50s.
I think it was like late 40s, early 50s.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who? Oh God. Who's our Guy Pearce? Who's our? I don't know. Now I'm just like cast Awkwafina. Now I'm just like we're getting into. Now I'm getting into that point where I'm just like every other lazy Hollywood casting person. Where I'm like, all right, just throw Awkwafina in there.
She's great. She's great.
She is great, but it's like.
But maybe she should be Russell Crowe's character.
She could. I was just gonna say, I think she makes more sense as Russell Crowe's character.
Yeah. I'm drawing a blank on Guy Pearce.
We'll come back.
Yeah.
We'll come back to it.
Maybe it should be like an Australian actress. Like
I can't think of the only Australian actress I can think of right now is Essie Davis.
Who's that?
She's in the Babadook?
Yeah.
She's the mom in the Babadook.
Okay.
She's not right for this role, but she's an incredible actress.
Okay. I haven't seen it, so I can't place her.
Oh,
but,
she's great.
Yeah.
Oh, you know who could be good? Toni Collette.
Yes. There it is. Perfect.
We got to get someone who's underrated.
Yeah.
Because Guy Pearce, very underrated as an actor.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't think of a lot of stuff that he's done outside of like the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
He's missed his window.
He's great. I mean,
he's great.
The acting is spectacular. Mm-hmm. Spectacular.
But there's some issues. And I think, I appreciate that you're approaching it from a standpoint of like, I'm not going to try and, you can't deny that this is just like, it's not a movie for you.
Yeah.
And that I think is probably at the end of the day, like the most airtight thing about that is that it's just your feeling. Like you can't change just because a movie's good doesn't mean you can feel a different way about it.
I feel like I've been doing so much second guessing leading up to this where I'm just like, well, everybody else says it's good. But like I had a very visceral reaction to it. I was just like, I hate this movie. I think it's terrible and boring and awful.
I think you also, I found one little piece of criticism that I think you will appreciate, because it sounds like you're in sort of the same boat as this critic, Dwight Garner of Salon.
That's the review. That's the one.
This is the one. You emerge from the theater feeling like Hansen finally managed to push LA Confidential past the usual boundaries. Your waiting hasn't been entirely in vain, but by this point, you're almost too burned out to care.
Yes, that's exactly it. I mean, it's long. It's not actually that long, but it feels longer than it is.
Oh, I mean, it's long. It's too long.
It's 2.5 hours?
Yeah.
2 hours, 19 minutes or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it feels like it's 3.5 hours.
It does. It is a long movie. I took several breaks watching this movie.
Yeah.
Because it's just a lot. It's heavy.
I literally kept stopping it and being like, is this movie almost over yet? And it was like 12 minutes in.
That's not a good sign. No. That's bad. But that's the thing. It's like there's also in the critics, they, of course, as you do, compare it to other film noir. Malcolm Johnson of the Hartford Courant, which is a newspaper that I don't even know if it exists anymore. I hope it does.
The Hartford
Courant, no, good old Hartford, Connecticut.
Okay, yeah.
Though it has been compared to Chinatown, LA Confidential lacks the finesse of Roman Polanski's classic, yet Polanski's cinematic artistry would perhaps be out of place in Elroy's paranoiac yet deeply informed Pulp Fiction. You've seen Chinatown.
Yeah.
What do you think of Chinatown in the pantheon of noir? Like, where does Chinatown land for you?
I thought it was a great noir.
What about in the terms of pantheon of movies? Great noir, bad movie.
You know, I don't think I don't know who is ever like, ooh, I'm in the mood for a good old noir tonight. They're not really that fun to watch. Maybe some people think they are, but
you're right, though. They're not that fun to watch.
They're hard. They're slow, and they're, I mean, classic noirs anyways. Like,
you find yourself wrestling with a lot of feelings as the characters do in noirs, because they're always going to some dark, seedy underbellies of things. Yeah,
totally. And I think that, like, when I watch a movie, I crave character development and, like, watching a character change. And that's, a noir is literally, like, follows a character that doesn't change. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what it is. So it's not my favorite genre of all time. I enjoy them and respect them. But, like, I'm not popping one on for fun. Sure. It feels like research. Like, I was watching all of them because my writing partner and I were working on a script. Mm-hmm. a comedy neo-noir about the social influencing world, which is a lot of fun. A
lot in there.
A lot in there.
Did you ever watch Under the Silver Lake?
No, but she did, and it's on my list. She absolutely hated it. Had like an extremely negative reaction to it. It's
a movie that I watched and I loved. It Follows, same director, obviously very different kind of movie.
Yeah.
I think it's a super divisive movie. Some
Yeah.
people really love it. Some people really hated it. And I am indifferent because I don't remember a whole lot about it. I remember some parts I was like, wow, this is great. And some parts I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And even in the scope of like where I'm sitting from now, like you make an excellent point. Like I'm not just popping on. One of my all-time favorite movies is Nightcrawler. Uh-huh. An incredible noir.
Yeah.
But I'm not just popping it on to be like, I want to see Nightcrawler again.
Yeah. I feel like I went through a period where I was watching all that stuff and it felt like I was like in a film studies class. Like it felt like doing homework.
Yeah.
That's
the way it felt. I mean, I felt that watching Chinatown, and I felt that it's just you just know you're going to get sucked into like a bleak world.
Totally.
Watching these movies.
Totally. But like, I feel like more modern day neo-noirs, Big Lebowski, I love. And like, even Brick, is like...
Well, those have the benefit of having the comedy element inherent to them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Brick, not necessarily comedy in terms of like the way the Big Lebowski is.
Right.
But you've got this modern element to it. You have the nature of it being a high school, also sort of a coming of age movie wrapped in a noir movie. It's
fun. It's like, it's entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nightcrawler, I feel like, is the same way.
Okay. I haven't seen Nightcrawler. No, that's...
Oh, I love Nightcrawler, but it's not, it sounds like you're probably also not going to like it. But the premise of Nightcrawler is Jake Gyllenhaal plays this guy who finds out about stringers, which are people who go and they film like car crashes and stuff like that. And they send the footage into news stations so they can run it.
I did see it.
Yeah.
I forgot.
See? It's not the most fun watch, but it's entertaining.
Yes.
But also it like you're watching Jake Gyllenhaal just be a horrible, horrible, horrible piece of shit for like 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Which apparently is how he is in real life.
Whoa!
Uh-oh.
Heyo! I haven't listened to Taylor's version, so I can't guarantee that I know these feelings. But I think, I wonder if there's a version of this movie and in I don't know if there is. Now that I start talking about it, I'm like, I don't know if there's a version of this movie that could have comedy infused more in it and make it better.
Totally. I'm sure
there is, but it feels like you almost need to kind of break it up into two separate things, right? Like we know that you can do a noir and have comedy be a thread and a through line that keeps the thing going. What I think was more interesting and I would like to see a version of that I haven't seen is like a cop movie that has comedy threaded throughout it. Like you see a little bit of it with The Nice Guys, I think is probably the closest thing that I can think of.
Yeah, I've heard. I haven't seen it, but like
it's fun.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in a long time, but that's the closest thing that comes to mind of like
Super Troopers.
Now that
I mean,
I'll watch that any day.
I'll watch that any day.
I will not watch LA Confidential perhaps ever again. But Super Troopers, both 5 stars.
5 stars all around.
Well, I would be intrigued to see what your version of all of this looks like. So I hope that that things are going well on the development side of this neo-noir comedy thing.
I mean, it's a very fun script. We'll see. It's like it was extremely. We were just like, we're gonna write something where we don't that we are gonna sell, so we can make it as big as we want it to be. So it's a wild, like huge LA, just like so many massive locations.
Great. Lots of places where people who live in LA can watch and go like, oh, I know where that is.
Yeah.
The best part about watching an LA movie now.
Yeah, it's true.
I got to do that a bunch in LA Confidential.
Yes. Yeah. That is great. A fun thing about, because you're not from here, right? Mm-mm. Yeah, me neither. So it's fun to go back and watch like,
oh, I know where that is now.
Yeah.
I know. I've been to Formosa Cafe.
Yeah.
They have really good Chinese food.
I love that place. Yeah. Right across from Jones, my favorite restaurant.
Oh, Jones is the best.
It's the best.
How come more neo-noirs set in LA haven't had a scene set in Jones where people are talking?
That's a great question. I wonder if they won't let people shoot there or something.
That seems...
Because it's the most perfect location.
Feels a little seedy. It's a perfect location. The lighting inside's great. You probably wouldn't have to bring in that much extra lighting.
Yeah. It's possible that it's owned by the mafia or something. I don't know. I have no idea.
Maybe. Leah.
Jay.
This has been very enlightening, and I appreciate you, despite your copious second guessing that you've done.
Yes, well, that's just me. That's my.
But you stuck to your guns, and I appreciate that you were able to come chat with me about this. I had a great
time. I really thank you for having me and for opening the dialogue and being so open to all the thoughts.
Open to just being like, to me, examining my relationship to masculinity and cops and bad stuff.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to do as soon as we wrap. Good. You'll have a lot of thinking to do. I'm canceling my meeting. I was going to do an episode with Alex Villanueva for his re-election campaign.
Nope. Straight to your room. Straight to my room. Straight to go lie on bed and think for hours. About what you did wrong. What did I do wrong, and what is my role in all of this? Exactly. For shame. Curtis Hanson did not die in vain. No. Because he knew at his heart, this is what I did. This is what you did. This is your fault, Jay. You did this. Leah, where can people find you on the internet if they want to check out your stuff? Oh, yeah. Well, I'm on Instagram. Just my name, Leah _Rudick. And I'm on TikTok, too. Great.
Same handle.
Same,
I would assume.
just without the underscore.
There you go.
I got the full name there.
Nice.
Yeah, I got it.
No underscores needed.
No.
Yeah. You can find me at Diet J on all the socials and at Blockbusting Pod if you want to follow Blockbusting specifically. I'm looking direct into my camera for this one. And if you like the show, please consider telling a friend or subscribing on Patreon. You get access to bonus things. And that's about it. Leah, thanks again.
Thank you so much. This was great.
Yes, this was great. And so calm. This has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.